also only half of the Department for Culture of the Electorate, which created a sort of a council board conference table in order to offer the sites a place to share issues, problems and proposals from solutions, lines for operation. And as you will see now, the World Heritage in Veneto appears to be defined by a great variety and diversity in terms of dimensions, types and values of properties. We have 9 World Heritage sites, mostly cultural, 1 natural, Dolomites, but I would like to point out that the cultural sites have many natural aspects. One example is the Botanical Garden in Padua. One of the most meaningful examples is also Venice and its lagoon. As well as the natural property, present many cultural features as a result of the human activities of the local communities. And a significant case is that of the Prosecco Hills, defined by Unesco as a cultural landscape, focusing on the values of the anthropic presence which shaped the natural site during centuries. We have also 2 main Manan Biosphere Program reserves and 2 intangible elements, the glass pairs of Venice, inscribed in the representative list, and first and still only example in Italy, the program Tocati, in the list of the best practices for safeguarding of the intangible heritage. I won't go any further to let the representatives of the sites start a brief overview of this heritage in Veneto. We will see a video. Thanks. unfortunately they couldn't come.
Imagine Padua at the beginning of the 1300s as a fast-growing city thanks to the government of the free municipality, which for many years guaranteed economic stability. The city centre, with its numerous houses and towers, was surrounded by high and mighty walls. Also since 1222, it was home to one of the oldest universities in the world, attracting students and teachers from every corner of Europe. When we think about Padua, Giotto immediately comes to mind. Between 1303 and 1305, here in Padua, an important center in the history of Italian art, the Tuscan artist Giotto painted his absolute masterpiece, the frescoes of the Scrovegni Chapel, one of the world's best preserved fresco cycles. Giotto painted the entire interior wall space of the chapel in a very short time, decorating the side walls and the triumphal arch with 39 scenes from the life of the Virgin Mary and the life of Christ. In the lower band of the nave, the painter created a monochrome dado with the 7 figures representing the virtues painted on the left wall, contrasted by the 7 figures of the vices on the opposite wall. It is a spiritual path which accompanies the faithful towards heaven and hell, depicted in the majestic Last Judgment. The decorative scheme includes the board, where 10 tongi containing figures are painted against a star-strewn sky. In the 14th century, the Church of the Eremitaani was one of the most richly decorated churches in the city of Padua. The fresco cycles of Europe's picture series testify to the style and inspiration of Giotto as developed by Guariento Piarco, a painter at the court of the Lords of Padua, and by the Tuscan painter Giusto de Venabuoi, whose painted decoration is seen in the Cathedral Baptistry and in the chapel of Blessed Luca Melludi in the Basilica del Santo. Guariento's studies give particular value to the cycle. In fact, in the Church of the Eremitaani, the painter rendered the painted architectural features with spectacular effects. In the Gothic style, architectural features are fundamental in articulating the spaces within which the scenes from sacred history come to life. The painter's earliest works, dating back to 1338, are found in the chapel of St. Anthony Abbot and depict scenes from the lives of the saints in a cycle of 6 half-length female figures in the entrance archway and numerous fragments along the walls. In the Carraresi Palace Chapel, Guariento painted scenes from the Old Testament, and it is these frescoes which mark an important stage in Urbs Picta. The fresco cycles are the first examples of works by a court painter commissioned by the Carraresi rulers of Padua. The narrative style that characterizes all the pictorial cycles of Urbs Picta can also be seen in Guariento's work, which closely follows the fresco tradition of Giotto, while at the same time offering a personal interpretation. The narrative sequence unfolds along 2 levels, separated by deep cornices that bear inscription in Gothic script identifying each scene. In this way, the painter introduced a new way of representing the story. Each episode, no longer isolated within a single frame, is combined with the other scenes in a single space. The interior of the baptistry is entirely decorated with frescoes. The episodes depicting the history of salvation do not come to an end at the edge of the walls, but carry on from one wall to another, including even the most unlikely corners. Giusto de Venabuoi was able to create illusory games between real and painted space, building the environment according to the rules of perspectiva naturalis, natural perspective, thus continuing the work started by Giotto in the Scrovegni chapel. In his work, the artist has left many traces of his scientific interests in cartography, topography, see the creation of the world, but above all, geometry and mathematics. The characters depicted by Giusto de Menagoi were men and women of the 14th century in Padua, in particular famous personalities of the code of the Carraresi, following the idea of realization and secularization of sacred history initiated by Giotto. Thus we find the poet Francesco Petrarca, but special attention is also paid to female figures. Pina Buzzaccarini, for example, appears twice. In the birth of John the Baptist, we see her attend the event together with her 3 daughters. The Basilica of Saint Anthony is the most important religious center in the city of Padua and also one of the largest churches in the world, visited every year by over 6.5 million pilgrims. It is at the Basilica that Giotto undertook his study of perspective and the rendering of space. The Oratory of St. George was built over 70 years after the Scrovegni chapel, following the same architectural model and the same narrative style. It is a single space with a barrel vault ceiling and walls which are entirely covered with a pictorial fresco cycle based on the life of Christ and on the lives of the patron saints of the Lupi family, St. George, St. Catherine, and St. Lucia. The pictorial cycle exalts the warrior virtues of the Lupi family at the service of the lords of the Carraresi and the city of Padua. The Oratory of St. Michael is a hidden gem in the heart of Padua, located close to the innermost circle of city walls, next to the famous Torlonga of the castle of the Carraresi. The frescoes within the Oratory of St. Michael recount the scenes of the life of the Virgin. They are divided into 6 episodes, which unfold around the space in an anti-clockwise direction that Jacopo da Verona realized within painted cornices, following the tradition of Giotto. The scenes, however, are organized in passages situated on opposite diagonals, showing that Jacopo da Verona also studied the form of narration used by Altichero in the chapel of St. James. Jacopo da Verona was such a skilled portraitist that it has been possible to identify various real-life characters in the procession of the Adoration of the Magi, where Francesco Novello and Francisco I da Carrara appear. Similarly, it has also been argued that the figures seen in profile who attend the funeral of the Virgin may be the members of the Bodi family who commissioned the frescoes. Palazzo della Ragione is not only the beating heart of the city, soul of the market and cultural life in Padua, it is also the largest raised hall in Europe. In the Middle Ages, it provided a meeting place for the administration of justice and was where civil and penal cases were heard and public assemblies were held. Making the building so famous, in addition to its distinctive overturned old roof, is the fresco cycle that decorates the interior. Of all Spicta, this is the largest in terms of painted area and the most complex, with 4 large internal walls entirely occupied with frescoes. In 1420, a fire destroyed the loggias, the wooden roof, and the fresco decoration. Records from the time refer to astrological themed frescoes decorating the vast, all complete with signs of the zodiac, planets, and constellations. The fresco cycle was repainted in the 15th century by the painters Niccolo Miretto, Stefano da Ferrara, and Antonio di Pietro.
you. Thank you very much for this. Only to be completed with information, we have three main biosphere reserve because we have the Po Grande, the border is in Lombardia, but the territory is also in Venice. And a couple of days ago, we have inserted the Bayonne Dam documents of the disaster of Bayonne in the register of the memory of the world. But regarding the Prosecco Hills of Conegliano Valdoviane, thank you very much for your visit. My presentation is a brief presentation because tomorrow I can show you directly for an immersion in the Prosecco Hills, and I have ordered the sun, I hope. And the Prosecco Hills of Conegliano Valdoviane, first of all, we can start with a video.
The hills of Conegliano Valdoviane, the Prosecco Superiore landscape, are now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This small rural area between Venice and the Dolomites is home to thousands of wine producers who have been looking after it for generations. It is thanks to their work that this naturally arduous and fragile landscape has become a unique setting of immense and breathtaking beauty. There are three characteristics of universal value to be protected and enhanced. The morphology of its hills, which are arranged in cordons that run from east to west, forming a series of steep, rugged slopes interspersed with small, parallel position valleys. Over the centuries, man has learned to adapt to their peculiarities, shaping the steep slopes while perfecting agricultural techniques. The Ciglioni, particular types of terrace held up not with stones, but with grassy soil that blended with the landscape while helping to reinforce the slopes. The development of a patchwork agricultural landscape, in which many small vineyard plots belonging to different families are interspersed with woodlands and meadows, and that functions as an effective ecological network. The hills of Conegliano Valdoviane, a landscape worth living, a heritage that belongs to us all. The hills of
You have seen this fantastic territory, and this property is inserted in the World Heritage List from 219 and for the criteria number 5. And we have three characteristics, as you have seen, and in the landscape of the area, occupying almost the entire core area, is the fundamental physical element to express the outstanding universal value. Characteristic is west running cordon of hills, the grass Ciglioni, and the patchwork agricultural landscape. We are working a lot for this, and regarding the justification for the description, the outback landscape, a particular geomorphology that characterizes the strip of hills, is the result of a combination of tectonic and structural shapes. Thanks to this geological formation, the denominated property stands out as a landscape of outstanding beauty and harmony, modeled throughout millennia to shape a rare and spectacular landscape of outback, valleys, and other with harmonious beauty. The ingenuity of the farmers is a very, very big characteristic because of the heroic viticulture. Is in the dominated property, a peculiar form of terracing called Ciglioni was chosen. The construction of Ciglioni required not only to shape the slopes creating a terrace, but also to facilitate water drainage, excavating a ditch on the upper part of the terrace at the foot of the wall of the next terrace above. The level area normally, and also a slight outward, sloped to favor rainwater drainage. The Ciglioni were used in combination with other systems, such as ritocchino and uphill cultivation method distributing of the rows of wines in the same direction as the slopes. And landscape mosaic, farmers have ingeniously adapted in many specific ways to the slope and the orientation of the area, creating vineyards interspersed with woods and fruit trees, generating heterogeneous landscapes, matrix made of mosaics of many patches represented by small vineyards scattered throughout the landscape. Regarding the sustainable development, agriculture is practiced in a sustainable way by preserving the landscape, protecting watersheds, and maintaining soil and water quality. The use of sustainable ecological practices is a key feature, distinguishing this resilient agricultural development over centuries, based on long experience and proven traditions. This kind of farming is based on small plots cultivated on a middle portion of a landscape matrix dominated by forest land. It has ensured sustainable yields over time thanks to time-tested technologies and traditional know-how, such as the specific straining of the wines or the distinctive checkerboard pattern with rows parallel and vertical to the slopes. The result is a mosaic landscape where the plots dedicated to vineyards established on grassy terrace or ciglione coexist with reinforced patches in an organic system respectful of the soil and the topography. Regarding our works and our project, I present two projects of sustainable tourism. A project regarding the cyclism, the cycle tourism, and a project regarding the trekking tourism. Now, the writer Prosecco is a case history, is a best practice from Tuscany that we import in the Prosecco years. And is an incredible race, but not only a race, will be in the future also 3 rings for the cycle tourism to appreciate in the correct way the Prosecco years of Conegliano Valdobbiadene. And 3 rings, one of 50 kilometers, one of 93, and one of 120 kilometers. And the other thing is the Prosecco Trail. We inaugurate this trail on the 8th of July, and this is the best part of our tourism because it's located in an area that goes from the municipality of Vidor to Vittorio Veneto, 51 kilometers between the hills of the Treviso Prealpine area, where the grapes are grown and vinified, for which one of the best Italian export products of the Prosecco. It's important because this important project has a route, has a medium technical difficulty of island type with an altitude of 2,265 meters between steep slopes, soft valleys, reaching water, hills, and testimonies of the Greek War, with the fields where the final battle of Vittorio Veneto was fought, on their paths that can be traveled on foot or by bicycle. The Prosecco path represents a fantastic opportunity to visit the hills that are now a world heritage site, with a slow journey at walking pace and divided into 4 stages that allow you to better enjoy the landscapes and local products. I have finished because I go to 8 minutes. It's better to stop. Thank you very much.
That provides us this network of World Heritage Sites that helps us to keep in touch and to work better together. That is very important. Even if we are very different, we have natural sites, cultural sites, but the main goals that we have are something that we have in common. And what we have in common is to care about our territory and try to involve communities in in taking care of the sites. The site of the Dolomites, the inscription, it's in 1909, and it's a sewer property. It has 9 components spread around in 140,000 hectares, between 140,000 hectares, yes. And it's a natural property, and the criteria of inscription are the superlative beauty of these mountains, of this scenery, and the importance of geology. The geology of the Dolomites contributed to understand how our world has, our heart is today, the shape of our continents. So it was challenged in scientific history, and the first visitors of the Dolomites were geologists and researchers. So we try also to go back to this tradition and bringing back to the tourists, to this early stage of tourism, to appreciate wonder. Wonder is what we deal with, but it's not a wonder that has to do with mass tourism, it's a wonder to understand something, how our heart, how the planet heart works, how our communities developed among centuries. I show you just some pictures just to understand what are we talking about. The particularity of these mountains, it's their verticality, the different colors, the different shapes that are quite unique in the world. We have many projects starting with education to collaboration with the local tourist agencies. We are very proud of one of our new projects, that is the Geo Trail, that is a travel among the Dolomites. We managed to set a 47 steps trekking that crosses all our territories. The territory is not all under one region. Administratively, it is shared by 4 regions that are different, that have different system and different rules. So that's very challenging because we try to harmonize and find ways to protect the site together with different laws, different offices, but we cooperate among with something that we call operating networks. And the operating networks have several tasks. One of these is to promote geology and to promote scientific research in geology. But we have other operating networks that deal with education. Another operating network deals with tourism and mobility infrastructures. And another operating network is dedicated to promotion. But promotion not in sense of marketing, but in sense of finding a common language to present the site, finding a common way to present the site, because all these territories has different touristic agencies, but what we promote is to promote the knowledge of the site and to promote also the right attitude in tourists when they visit the site. So this is one of the examples of our products. It's a product of the operating network of geology, but it's going to be very useful also for the other networks, because having the responsibility of a natural site has something to do with experience of nature. So we need our guys, our kids in our communities to go to these natural sites and understand that it's important, because understanding the importance is the first step towards conservation. So we found out putting all these regions together to organize this trekking, but what happened after, was to go deeper and provide a sort of three-dimensional geological map that also has references in time and also mentions climate changes, pointing out how short and how fast is changing our planet now compared to what's happened in the geological areas. If you want to know better and to go deeper into the knowledge of our site, we can give you our reference, our new website. We just put online 2 days ago the new website that is clearer and easier. Before it was almost a library, because we continue to add features and tasks and publications. So now it's easier to go through. I think you can discover more about our site, and I hope you are also enhanced and you are curious to see what's in our website. And I show you also the Dolomite Trail site to explore it better. We are on the main social networks also. If you look for us, we have a very interesting newsletter that every month points out our best practice. We grow and we promote best practice with this monthly newsletter, and I hope you will be happy to visit our sites and our social. Thank you very much.
Thank you for giving me the floor. I'm Sofia from Associazione Giochi Antichi, Ancient Game Association of Verona, and I'm here to share with you a presentation by Etero Pione, Municipality of Verona, and Valentina Piccinella Zingari, ICH Facilitator and Coordinator for the Tocati nomination of Good Register Practice of UNESCO. Okay. In 2000, the city of Verona joined the International UNESCO World Heritage List as a cultural site, and in according to criteria that guide the recognition of World Heritage Site, Criterion 2 and Criterion 4, that you see in the screen. Criterion 2, which recognizes the quality of its urban structure, which has evolved continuously for 2,000 years, and Criterion 4, which recognizes its exceptional quality as a fortified site representative of European history. Okay, the picture illustrated these guiding criteria: the arena, a living monument at the heart of the life of the Veronese city community, and the walls, which delimit and embrace the urban landscape of the historic center. The recent Mura Festival proposed this heritage as a resource for the future, and the Mura Festival is a small festival with a lot of cultural initiatives along the whole site of Mura in the city of Verona. And in 2022, the community of Verona celebrated another important recognition. Tocati, as a shared program for the safeguarding of traditional game and sport, inscribed in the register of good practices of the UNESCO Convention for Safeguarding of Living Heritage. The selection has been based on the respect of 9 criteria and 5 main objectives, bringing together communities of practitioners and institutions from Italy, Belgium, France, Croatia, and Cyprus. Following the recommendation of UNESCO, it is crucial in the evolution of cultural policies to be able to put in synergy the various instruments of World Heritage Site Management, 1972 Convention, and the Safeguarding of Intangible Cultural Heritage, Living Heritage, 2003 Convention. The strategic objectives of the 1972 Convention open an important windows between the two conventions, introducing the fifth C of communities, and the role of communities in the implementation of the World Heritage Convention, and communities are at the core of the ICH definition. In this evolving context, sustainable tourism, which involves work on social inclusion, dialogue between cultures, respect for local communities, become a meeting ground and a common platform for communities and institutions involved in cultural policies, with the tools of these two fundamental international conventions. The history of Tocati and its community of practice, deeply linked to the city of Verona and its cultural spaces, in this imagine the name of Scianco in Piazza San Zeno, Lippa, or also Pindolo, Pandolo, many names of the same game, constitutes an important opportunity to work in an integrated way, making Verona a lab of management of a World Heritage Site with the collaboration of the practitioner and communities of the living heritage. Playing in the square not just mean playing, but living in the city in all its dimensions, transmitting this living heritage to next generations. The Tocati Festival, main action of the Tocati program, since 2003 puts into play the city of Verona and its historical center, transforming the town while returning the city to the cultural practices of its inhabitants, combining respect for local identities with welcoming tourists and players from all over the world, and building peace and social cohesion according to the UNESCO values. Recognizing this vocation, the Tocati experience has been included in the new ICH MAGGIO forum platform, an innovative tool that we invite you to visit and discover, an experience that has already entered into a closer relationship with the expert of the World Heritage Center. Thank you so much.
I prefer to stand because usually I teach, and so I'm not able to stay on the seat. Okay, I'm Laura Vandan, and I'm professor of botany at the University of Padua, and I work also in the garden. Next, please. The Botanic Garden is inscribed in the list since 1997. It's a cultural site, and here you can see the motivation. Because the Botanic Garden was a special model for architecture, but also an important crossroad for the scientific culture and scientific knowledge. It's a small site, okay, but now we have also implemented the garden in the buffer zone, and we see immediately here. The criteria was the second criteria and the third. Okay. The second is for the architecture, and the particular plot, you can see here the plot of the Botanic Garden, is a circular wall that includes a square and the two main streets cross in the middle, and you have a fourth sector. And this is quite important for the age in which it was founded, 1545, because you have the idea of the cosmos, and then inside the earth, and the man is in the middle of the nature, but in strict linkage with the nature and with the God. Because this area is between the two most important church in Padua, St. Anthony and St. Agustina. The next one. Here you can see some overview of the Botanic Garden, and I stop here for a moment. This is the Goethe palm. Goethe, during his travel in Italy in 1786, described this palm, you can see here, and because this palm explained his theory about the metamorphosis of leaves. And he was a poet, but he was also a very great scientist, because he has no molecular biology, no electron microscopy, but only his intuition. Next one. Okay. The goal of the Botanic Garden was to make aware the people that enter the Botanic Garden about the value of the biodiversity, culture, knowledge, and also the history of our university, and the history of medicine and botany. So in 2014, we opened another part, a modern part. You can see the greenhouses here. The greenhouses allow visitors to make a journey from the equatorial region toward the polar region through the temperate, arid, and subtropical region. So the visitor can appreciate different species of plants coming from all the world, and so they can also understand the origin of plants. For instance, if they ask you which origin is a coffee plant, what about the coffee plant? From which country? From no, not South America, is a African plant. Okay? And is in Colombia, because the Venetian okay, have the possibility to import and describe the plant. And so, yeah. Okay, so we try to improve and increase the awareness about biodiversity, the conservation, and we try to understand if people is aware about the Green Deal, for instance, and the goals of the European community, and also the climate change and so on. Here you can see some specific image of the greenhouses, and the next slide, please. Okay. Inside you can see we try to involve people with short sentences, curiosity, and create an interactive way. In particular with children, but not only with children. Okay, and here you have some examples of our interactive inside. So, near the plants, we have also cultural possibility for people to understand and to understand the linkage between plants and human. We depend on plants, sure. Next slide, please. Okay, last year we had the celebration of the 8th century of our university. So we decided to offer some cultural, new cultural offer, because we have the possibility to open a museum, botanical museum. We opened last February, and we have proposed a tour around a pharmacy. This is an ancient pharmacy that we have restored, and we have the possibility to trace back to the origin of the Botanic Garden, because the student in the Botanic Garden in the past had the possibility to study the medicinal plant, and so we come back to the origin. Together with the pharmacy, we have also the possibility to show the treasure that we have in the library and in the aquarium that are the third, because the Botanic Garden was dedicated to the didactic since the foundation. the next slide. Okay, to connect all these places inside a small site, we organize a lot of events, and you can see a list here, in particular with educational targets. Okay, also workshop, team guide, tools, lecture, book presentation, and so on. And only to give you an example, we had the last 1st May, the most important events in Botanical Garden. Next slide. This is the Risvegli Festival, and we have in 4 days 12,000 visitors. We provide lectures, guided to educational workshop, shows, exhibition, and installation. So in the next slide, I will show you the words is grow, because here you can see the number of visitors in the first year from 2009, and now we reach in 2019, before the COVID, 180,000 visitors. Okay, we have 2 years problems, and now this year, last year, we have 2,011 visitors. And here you can see the different categories of people: students, families, university students, and teachers, adults. And I can say to you that about 30% of these visitors are foreign people. And foreign people sometimes are more aware and have more awareness in respect to Italian, and so we try to work better, to engage better the Italian people. Thank you.
We are both employees of the city of Vicenza, because the city of Vicenza is the authority to manage the Unesco site. I apologize for my pronouns. I hope it will be understandable, and I'm going here to read something. Then, the city of Vicenza and Palladian villas of the Veneto is the result of 2 steps of inscription in the World Heritage List. In the first occurred in 1994, which included the historical center of Vicenza with its 23 Palladian monuments, together with 3 suburban villas in the Vicenza area. In 1996, the property was extended by including a further 21 Palladian villas distributed in the Veneto region, with a greater concentration in the province of Vicenza, where there are 16 villas. The property is inscribed on the basis of the first and second criterion in relation to the value and significance of architectural works of Andrea Palladio. One represents a masterpiece of human creative genius and exhibit an important interchange of human values over a span of time or within a cultural area of the world, and developments in architecture or technology, monumental arts, town planning, or landscape design. We work in the urban planning department. I'm the head of the urban planning department, and she's an urban planner. Then urban planning is really important in the management of this site. 2 words about Palladio. Palladio was a Renaissance architect born in Padua and lived mainly between Vicenza and Venice in the 16th century. He lived from 1580 to 1580. Influenced by Greco-Roman architecture, primarily by Vitruvius, he is considered one of the most influential personalities in the history of Western architecture. Born with the name Andrea Di Pietro della Gondola, he began working in Vicenza as an apprentice of mason, immediately expressing great talent. Fundamental to his career were the encounters with the Vicenza nobleman Gian Giorgio Trissino and the Venetian intellectual Daniele Barbaro, and there are two villas, one Trissino villa and one Barbaro villa in Marseille. While he designed the churches and palaces, he was best known for country houses and villas. His teaching, summarized in the 4 books of architecture, gained him with wide recognition, even in his life. He was a great innovator, forerunner of neoclassical architectural style, and generator of an architectural movement called Palladianism, which developed in the following centuries, mainly in Northern Europe, Anglo-Saxon countries, and above all in the United States. And you can see some creation of followers of Palladio. Among his main followers, we can mention the almost contemporary Vincenzo Scamozzi from Vicenza, other important architect, Vicenza architect, who created the wooden scenography of the Olympic Theatre, the English architect Richard Boyle, and the American President Thomas Jefferson. The importance was recognized by US Congress, which in 2010 declared Andrea Palladio father of American architecture. This is a serial site comprising a total of 47 monuments for a total of 333 hectares, a very large site. Vicenza is universally and rightly known as the city of Palladio. The works of Andrea Palladio give the city its unique appearance. The 23 palazzos or townhouses have been inserted into the urban fabric of the medieval city, resulting in creation of a picturesque group of buildings and continuous street facades, in which the Venetian Gothic style combines with the elaborate classicism of Palladio. Vicenza was Palladio's main laboratory, where he applied the architectural experiments that he gradually perfected until he created one of his last works, the Teatro Olimpico. Many of his works remain unfinished or were completed after his death in 1580. Here we can see the 23 Palladian monuments included in the core areas of the historic center of Vicenza. These are private residences or public monuments. We can see some of the main some of the Palladian monuments you can visit in Vicenza: Basilica Palladiana, Teatro Olimpico, and you see the Scamozzi scene, the Cappella Valmarana, Palazzo Chiericati, Palazzo Barbanda e posti very nice place. The loggias of Basilica Palladiana, out of doubt, the most famous monument in Vicenza, the subject of an important restoration between 2007 2012, which obtained awards and which was declared a national monument in 2014. Teatro Olimpico, the first modern covered theater in the world, a prestigious and coveted theater space recognized internationally, open to visit by public all year round. Every day of the year you can come to Vicenza and visit Teatro Olimpico. Palazzo Barbanda Porto is the headquarters of Andrea Palladio International Architectural Study Center, an important reference for scholars from all over the world for over 60 years, which carries out historical and scientific research activities for the conservation and protection of the Palladian heritage. It also offers high-level training courses for architects and art and architectural historians. Palazzo is home to the Palladio Museum, a museum space that is renewed annually to tell the public about the result of research by the center scholars. The museum is also active with proposals aimed at young people with educational courses dedicated to them. In addition to historical center of Vicenza, Andrea Palladio left very important testimonies in the landscape with the construction of the villa, built at the time when rich noble families, especially Venetian, decided to invest in the mainland and in agricultural products, but also in representation of his own power and wealth. Starting in the following centuries, what took the name of holiday, which derives precisely from the modus of vivendi of living in a villa. Holiday villa, villeggiatura, and also a workplace for agricultural products. Most of the villas are privately owned and only a few are open to public visits. There are several, and one of the goals we try to achieve is just to get the heritage open to visit. There are several villa models created by Andrea Palladio which still retain the typical structure of the villa, intended both as a farm, the parchese, and the exemplification of an openly agricultural use, but also as representative seat for noble patrons. And this way to see the building was just cultural linked to USA way of life and culture of development. Some villas keep intact the relationship between the villa and the landscape and the waterways on which Palladio built his architectural models. Many villas are frescoed by important painters, including Veronese or Fasolo. As previously illustrated, our site is very complex and made up of numerous elements. The governance of the sites includes numerous public bodies, 21 administration, 6 provinces, and 3 superintendencies, and numerous public and private companies. The first management plan was approved in 2007, and over the years the site has been the subject of 2 missions by the World Heritage Center and ICOMOS, which have focused and recommended the importance of strengthening the control and the verification of the impact of the transformation of the territory that occur above all in the wider setting. And this is now our main problem, to manage this evolving situation. The balance between heritage protection and development is very delicate and requires particular attention, which is being addressed with an HIA and specific studies on the scenic perspective attributes to the site. Numerous interventions have been carried out for the conservation and protection of monuments in recent years, which require huge and continuous investments and both public and private financial resources to guarantee an adequate level of care and maintenance of the heritage. Alongside the protection and the conservation intervention, the site has developed numerous projects aimed at enhancing and transmitting knowledge of the site's value, especially toward the young population. The last initiative is the creation of the website, which will become the main information reference to our site. But the most important project that we currently have underway is the updating of management plan, which we started last March, which is developed in 4 phases and which we expect to conclude in the spring of 2024, which the drafting of the new management plan and the redefinition of the governance and plan management. The updating of the management plan is financed by the Ministry of Culture, thanks to the Law 77 of 2006, dedicated to the Italian Unesco sites, which allowed us to appoint experts in the sector and the manager, site manager, project manager. We have the project manager. We have just completed the first phase dedicated to the cognitive analysis of the state of conservation of site, which took place in parallel with the compilation of the third cycle of periodic report, which allowed us to identify the main criticalities and opportunities of the site, which will be the guide for the development of the next phase, the one dedicated to the participatory construction of the vision and planning of the plan. A result of the first phase was the definition of the attributes of the site, which are 6: the Fabbrica of Vicenza, a historic center, 23 Ballando buildings and the facades, scenic view of Vicenza from significant viewpoints, use traditional building materials and techniques, restoration, 24 Palladio villas, and their surrounding landscape, really important for the control and landscape surroundings, archival and bibliographic heritage and legacy of Palladio in relation to the inscribed property in the World Heritage List. In the second phase, particular attention will be dedicated to capacity building and at all the subjects involved in order to ensure broad knowledge of the value and meaning of belonging to the World Heritage List. From the month of July, the participatory process will be launched, which will allow for the shared construction of the contents of the management plan. Thank you to you all.
So it's late, so I'll try to be very short. Okay. World Heritage Venice in Istanbul was notified in 1987 in the World Heritage List. As you can see from the map, the site is very huge, and it's composed by 9 municipalities. From the south is Chioggia and in the north Jesolo. It's a iconic site, it's an emblematic site as well in the World Heritage List, and it has been described under all the 6 cultural criteria. As you can see, the site is very heterogeneous, it's very complex also to manage. It's very important to take into consideration that any impact in one single part of the site can create problems in all the properties. So we are undertaking so many attention in managing this site in a very synergic way and taking into account the whole ecosystem. You know that all the 6 criteria, we don't have time here to go through all of them. We try to represent these criteria in 6 tables. In fact, criterion 1, which is a unique artistic achievement, and second, the influence of Venice in development of architecture. Criterion 3, which is also so important because deals with the traditions, with the living city, and it's really important as well in terms of authenticity that we have to maintain. We have criterion 4, which means that there are so many typical architectural models and traditions, also in techniques, traditional techniques. And criterion 5 represents the lagoon ecosystem, the morphology of the lagoon, and the relationships between the morphology and also the habitat and all the biodiversity as well in the lagoon itself. And criterion 6, which is the associative criterion, which recalls us about the legacy of Venice and the influence of Venice all over the world. Defining the attributes, we tried, you know, it was described in 1987, and also it was a very old-style way of justifications, and so we tried to take all the measured attributes and to reinterpret a bit this definition, because in
fact, it was a very old one, so we have the palaces and major islands, artistic masterpieces and monuments. The historical urban fabric made of minor buildings, calicampieri, bridges, and also the whole system of the Venetian architectural typologies. The use of traditional building materials and techniques in the restoration projects, Venice townscape and lagoonscape, and also significant scenic views. The Venice lagoon ecosystem and its landscape, which is made of water, barene, gabi, veri, lagoon settlements, casoni, fishing valleys, and also the testimony of Venice and the lagoon culture, the identity, the cultural traditions, the ritual and religious events, which are really part of our IUV. And also the legacy of the Serenissima and its influence both in the archives, bibliographic heritage. It's a very, very huge and important attribute to cope with. Of course, when we talk about Venice, we have in mind San Marco Square, the Doge's Palace, but Venice is also the lagoon itself, the fishing valleys, and then we have really the commitment to safeguard heritage as well, these components which are the attributes of our property. Venice and its lagoon is also production, is also work, is also fisheries and fishermen, people who are committed to maintain as well their traditions that can be threatened, by wave motion, for instance, or by much more important economics. The Venice and its lagoon is also slow tourism, slow rowing in the lagoon, taking really the pleasure of going outside and really enjoy the place. And also the community are very committed also to continue with these important traditions. Venice is also spirit and feeling, the magic places, the shadows of the buildings and the water, and also this kind of emotions you can only have when you are not fighting against people, when you come back from your shopping, and then, this is also very, very important to keep and to maintain. And also the life in the city, children playing in the campus, this is so important as well to take into consideration when we conserve and look at the city and its future. The property is very complex. We have 20 members of the steering committee, which was established in 2007. And I couldn't talk about Venice without also explaining to you which are the main threats to our UV. Of course, hydraulic risk and high water, wave motion, pollution. You know that we have Porto Marghera just nearby the city, depopulation, which is connected with the pressure of tourism, management of change, so the management of transformation and development projects, building and restoration, but also urban maintenance. You can really think about all this number of tourists impacting, and so also it's so important to have resources for urban maintenance and climate change. At the moment, we are working in updating our management plan, according also to heritage committee decisions, and we also had 2 different missions, one in 2015 and another in 2020. And actually the fact that we had the UNESCO monitoring on the site was really, really important to improve and to raise awareness as well to decision makers, because we know that we are all subject to spoiled systems, so we have every time to restart again, the new mayor, the new deputy mayor, the new people who have the power on guaranteeing the conservation and also balancing transformation, change, development with the conservation issues, which we have to do this. So these are our 5 challenges. Of course, we are benefiting from also the new debates, the new discussions that UNESCO and advisory bodies are bringing. So we are always very updated on approaches and on methods to help us doing very well our job.
Here is the slide with, of course, the management plan is a process, so we are now in the phase of taking into account all the contributions that we had. We had the first phase of analysis. We launched as well a platform for mapping and also having projects to be coherent with the goals that we have. You see here some data. Also we used, we had a very recently participatory process, we had 8 meetings, 82 stakeholders participating, so we are going on in this work. Regarding studies and research, we also developed very recently 2 specific research, one analysis, which is the first one, Fragile Venice, where we studied all the weather impacting the monuments and also the urban structure, the urban historic structure of the city. And in the second phase, we developed, together with the superintendents of cultural heritage, some mitigation actions to cope with these impacts that we found in the first phase of the study. We are also developing a heritage impact assessment. It's so important that we take care about the conservation of the property, even if these projects are outside the property itself. I mean, we don't have yet a buffer zone, but we have to consider the wider setting, and many projects are outside the fact, but they may impact. So we have to develop this impact assessment. We are working with some international experts, like visiting and other experts as well. We are, I mean, I have to say that during this year we managed to increase the awareness and also the knowledge about how to integrate at concretely international standards at site level. So we had some experiments also in integrating impact assessment regarding the OUV within environmental impact assessment procedure. So knowledge is increasing, and it's good also that we share all this work together in the Veneto region. We can think that Veneto sites we have seen now, they are very huge. If we think of Vicenza and the Palladio Villas, the Colline, Prosecco Hills, these territories are living territories. They need to be transformed, to have infrastructure. But the most important thing is this infrastructure compatible and must respect the OUV and the attributes for which they have been inscribed in the heritage list. Very quickly, we are also working, opening a visitor center and info point in Forte Marghera. This is also a financement that we had thanks to the law in the Ministry of Culture, Law 77/2006. And of course, this place is so important. This morning we were talking about raising awareness about Venice Lagoon as a World Heritage Site. What does it mean, World Heritage? Is of all of us, of the humanity. So this place would be an opportunity to implement, also to organize some meetings with schools, but also some dedicated activities to make understand people about the importance, of course, of being a UNESCO site. We are also working in a project for the maintenance of traditional and cultural productions, defining some strategies. It's so important as well to maintain and to give the spaces also for artisans and craftsmen to make them work in the city, not to go away and leave all these spaces for ATM or change money or everything. And I'm happy that Marisa Gomento is here, and that she will give as well her testimony on this. We also have a Twitter profile and also a website, so you can also have more information about our activities that we are undertaking. And this slide for me is very important because we need this to implement, understand and implement World Heritage System at site level. I really wanted to put this slide because I'm here, that I'm explaining, but behind me there are so many other colleagues and people from the municipality, from also our colleagues from the region, and we organize very frequently these steering committee meetings, and it's important that we maintain alive also these relationships and collaborations, also because we have to face so many challenges. In fact, in September, in Milan, there will be the World Heritage Committee, and the Venice and Istanbul state of conservation will be examined and it will be assessed. And this is a very important moment for the site. And I would like to conclude with a photo of my Lisa Convent, in fact, which I really thank her because I really use this photo because for me it's really significant and emblematic of the message that also the World Heritage Convention would convey to all of us. So I thank you and I will
Last but not least, in questo caso c'è per le Venezia. Ah, ok. We remain in Venice.
Thank you. I will not be very long, but I got my tools just in case my words are not enough. First of all, I want to thank
Okay, grazie. First of all, I want to thank the organization for this beautiful moment of learning for me, because I'm a crafter, so I like to learn always. And I also feel a little shy because I'm not that people speaking of this moment. Anyway, allora, the art of glass bead. We entered in the ICH representative list in 2020, which was a crucial moment. In December 2020, we were already in the middle of the COVID, and in Venice also we have experienced a very bad year because of the big aqua alta of 2019, which was the second ever highest tidal flood in Venice. So a very bad moment that gave us a little bit of happiness in a moment that wasn't very happy. We are a group. I am here on behalf of the Comitato per la Salvaguardia dell'Arte delle Perle di Vetro Veneziane, which means the safeguarding of the Venetian glass beads. And we started as a little group, a tiny group of people that wanted, that basically crafters, so glass bead makers or glass bead stringers, like I am. And we wanted to make the history, give a new voice to the old, ancient history of the glass bead making in Venice, because the glass bead making in Venice has 8 centuries of history. And so we started from our ends, because this is what we know, and because this is what we understand first. Our work is what lead the idea of contributing of the world heritage, because the bead from our ends goes to the ends of everyone in the world. From the very ancient time, the beads were used as money, as you probably know already, and they were really used as currency. And so, literally, they always brought this message of dialogue. And dialogue and peace are some of the fundamental values, as you know, of the Unesco. And andiamo avanti, grazie. And so the tools, the places, the memories, the skill, of course, andiamo avanti, the fire and the glass together to create always something different. Every bead, one of our most famous beaders in Venice said that each bead is like a photo of the soul of the person that makes it. So each bead is a different thing. To give you an idea, if no one of you have an idea, precise idea of how the beads are made, the beads are made by melting some glass in the fire, so practically a stick of glass that you see in the end of the bead maker, and literally wrapping it around a piece of metal, and then putting together other elements that could be little slices of murrina glass, so a coated, several coats of glass together in different colors to make always something different. So it's first of all an expression of art, and it's an expression of the person that make it. The bead stringing is also very important because the bead stringing was essential for. I put myself here so I can show you because maybe it's more interesting. And the bead stringing consisted in scooping the tiny beads inside practically a box of wood, and creating some strings of these tiny beads that would be then much more easier to transport. And these ladies that were called imperialesse were doing this type of work outside of their homes in Venice, mostly in the way of Castelbrando. These beads have been all over the world. I heard about Masai before in one of the speeches, and if you have been to Africa, for sure you have noticed how many beads the local communities wear, and they became a real form of expression. They actually changed their way of artistic expression, and all of those beads come from Venice still today. Also in America, the Native Americans, for you coming from Canada, for example, the Blackfoot community still works with the Venetian glass beads. So, the beads are real tool of friendship, and it's an intangible cultural item that really we share with many different communities in the world. That was the idea. Since Venice has always been a cosmopolitan place, we actually bring a cultural item and an element that is common to many different communities. That's why we started already with our dossier, our ICH dossier, that was led together with France, so a transnational organization. And because in France there are many other bead makers, there's an association actually in France that is called the Premier d'Art de France, the art bead makers of France, and together with them we succeeded in the obtaining of the recognition. But this is a part of the work that is done on the bead that you see here, the Rosetta. And since we are here in the beautiful area of Vatopiadene Conegliano, also in this area, this work of grinding this type of beads that were invented in the late 1400 was made in this area because of the water. There are many rivers, many that could have the work of grinding the beads to make this type of work in special mills. And still today, in the vineyards and in the vegetable gardens, the farmers find some of these beads that were discarded because they were not good. So each bead is a form of art, and each bead expresses the soul of the person that has made it. And it's a way of preserving, as architect Katia Basili was saying before, it's a way of also preserving a very important part of the crafts of Venice, which in a city that is visited by millions of tourists every year could be literally swept away by the needs of the tourists that come. But the artists are not only us because we did this, of course, supported by the city of Venice and supported by the Ministry of Culture and the region of Veneto, which I was granted. Not only because we obtained the recognition, but it was work that we have done also for the other colleagues of ours that work and live in Venice. So it's a way of giving a voice to something that has been very important in the past, because it's not possible to calculate the number of beads, seed beads, like in this case from Badavanti, but also other type of works that have been made from the 15th century to today. But it's also a way of preserving this enormous, gigantic heritage and to bring it to the future. That's why we are trying to also educate children when it's possible. Of course, in the last 2 years there were not many opportunities to have many events in presence because of the obvious reasons. But whenever we can, we organize tours, workshops for kids, and also important international events, like for example an international contest of bead makers. For example, this year the second edition of the contest that we have called La tua perla per Venezia, your bead for Venice, has called we have 15 different countries participating, and it's only the second edition, so andare avanti. And we also try to involve the community in different levels. This, for example, was an event that we prepared and displayed also at the University Ca' Foscari in the memorial of the persons that lost their life in the wars. And as you can see, we try to not only involve the community in the special events like the art night, the class week, and all of the different events that gather the community, but also call the visitors and raise the awareness of the visitors on the important heritage of the city. Grazie. And this, for example, is Alessia Fuga, who's the vice president of the committee, together with a worker of the biggest producing plant of those tiny seed beads, La Società Conteglie Veneziane, which when closed left the space for an hotel. One of the new areas of the Glass Museum of Murano, and even a residential area, so you can imagine how big the place was. And this is an old worker of the plant that tells about during one of these educational tours that we prepared. And this is one of the warehouses that still keep and preserve some enormous crates of these tiny seed beads that are no longer producing medicine. And this is us. We are people. We are people, and we try to talk to the people and maintain something that is important for us, but it's heritage of mankind. Grazie. These are some of the events that we are planning for this year again. And one that I think is also very important is this bit of courage in association with the Palais d'Art de France, and it's a particular operation of making beads to donate to little patients that are facing a very bad moment in oncologic disease. So thank you very much.
Where our Unesco veneto sites. So I think now you have. Okay.
At 6 o'clock, the tour in the castle is starting. Okay, 6 o'clock after the reception, the tour you will visit in the castle. Okay, 6 o'clock at the time.
Goodbye to everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Report for this day, and then we exchange among all of you to give contributions, improvements. So it was really very good today. So thank you for being here. Thank you.
So the sun colors like those that were painted black, the white for example were painted black. It's possible that the songs are not older. So you can then consider that you can tell the difference from those that were made in the early 1900s and those that are made now.
If you would like to refresh in 1 hour,
I really like that. She's
and if you want, I can give you my WhatsApp.
sure. I would be, if I could show that to her, she would find it fascinating. She's,
and it's there is still so much work to do. So much work to do.
She's,